Next one is your sales. So I want you to take a look at now moving forward, what are the number of sales that you did in this past year? What are the number of sales in your past years for those experienced that are in the room? What have your sales numbers been doing? What's your, right? Are they trending? Are your sales numbers trending up? Are they trending down? Are they trending flat? Do I need to get a kick in the pants? Right? Am I getting too lazy? Right? So, and who's to blame for our sales trends numbers going up and down and stabilizing? You, right? Because what's the market done this year, please? 24% increase. I'm going to ask you this and write this down. Did my business and my sales numbers, transactions, increase 24% this year? It's a fair question, right? The economy and the business and the industry was up 24%. Did my business increase 24%? Okay? Opportunity. Not, guys, you have to understand, this is not a session for us to beat ourselves up. We got enough to, we're good at that already, right? I want you to take it and say, here's an opportunity. My number of sales are trending lower than they have been in the past. What do I need to be doing differently? What can I start doing to turn this around? How can I get those sales numbers and those things? What's my sales numbers? Now, the next thing, what did I talk about when all of the deals were happening and the number of sales in per month? Can you do the exact same thing, Dan? We did this, right? So when is your hunting season at its best? We did this exercise, you and I. When do you do your most business? What months do we look at?
March, April, May.
Yeah.
And September, October, and
November. So Dan knows specifically. He's gone back and looked at his business in the past couple of years, and he knows specifically the months that he makes his most number of deals and transactions. He knows when he needs to be on and working 6 days a week, and he knows when he can be off and going and it off, right? We know when we put the pedal down. How many of us in this room know when you do most of your business and what months they are and when to turn it up and when to turn it down, right? Take a look at that and to look at that business, okay? And to see what it is. You need to understand, and then how does your season compare to your board season? Is it pretty close?
Yes.
Yeah. So when his board is up, his own business is up as well. So his game is on at the same time when the board's game is on. Is that important to know, yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. So you need to understand if your season, when your local board seasons are on. So when the fish are biting, are you on and are you present, or are you disappearing and taking time off and moving and taking time off? Now, are your number of sales increasing or decreasing? Here's another know percentage-wise, if you break it down. What's the percentage of your business that you work with a buyer versus working with sellers? How many people would know that number? If you don't know that number, why is that number important, please? Knowing the percentage and your breakdown of the percentage of your business with a buyer versus the percentage of your business with a seller. NAR has an incredibly interesting statistic that I always share when I speak. Does anybody know what the average amount of time in a normal market that you tend to have to spend, according to the National Association of Realtors, with a seller invested in making that, call it $7,000? What do they say time-wise? 8 hours, okay? NAR now says that in a normal market, the amount of length of time invested in a buyer for the same $7,000 is how many hours, please? 32. Okay, so you're spending 4 times the effort with the buyer to make the same $7,000. So is it a better return on your investment and a better use of your time and a better ROI working with a buyer business or a seller business, please? Seller. But what is more difficult? Sellers. Why? Because right now we're not getting the listings, so it's a challenge. So should my marketing campaign turn up next year on how I can get more sellers in 2015? Yes or no? Yes, absolutely. So question for you, and you write this down. What can I do in 2015 to generate more listing opportunities and more listing leads? What can I do next year that I can create more listing opportunities and more listing leads in 2015? Because I want to make $7,000 for 8 hours versus 32 hours for $7,000. Does that make sense? I want to work smarter, not harder. So what are the things, just throwing it out there, what are the things that you could do to generate more listing leads next year?
Farming.
Farm. What else?
Referral.
Referrals? What else? Database. Right. Database. Talk about our database quite a bit today. Database. What are all sellers curious about right now? That those of you that are working online leads with me, what are they all curious about sellers right now? How much their house is worth. Why are they so curious about what their house is worth right now?
They might sell it for a
They might sell it for a profit, and they're curious because they know it's what it's been doing for the last 6 years, and now finally they're curious about how much more expensive it is and how much more money I have in it. So there's a trend out there that sellers are very, very curious about what their place is worth. And then, where there are people the last 6 years that were incredibly unsuccessful selling their home that could possibly be successful next year. And what's that market opportunity called? Expireds. Okay, so for those of you in board areas and areas and provinces that you can't do expireds, I apologize and I feel sorry for you in advance. But if you can work an expired, right, an opportunity to work expireds is a tremendous opportunity to increase your listings. Working your database, working referrals. All of those opportunities are there for you to increase your listing opportunity next year. If you're not focused on increasing your listing inventory next year, you're missing out on a tremendous opportunity in this business. Please don't miss out on that opportunity. Implement one campaign strategy next year to pick up more seller leads. I guarantee you'll make more money next year. Guaranteed. Okay? And I'm going to tell you the number one place should be for those of you in the room that have experience, your database. Number one, database, database, database. For those of you who are new to the business, expireds. And online, what's my place worth? For those new in the business, focus on online and expireds. And for those of you that are existing in this business, turn up the heat on your database. Turn it up. We're going to talk about that, how to turn it up. Last thing I want to talk about, and is your source. How many people go through every listing and every sale for the past how many years you've been in the business, and you identify the exact source and reason for getting that listing and getting that sale? How many people have done it? Good. Okay. So source. Lee, Ralph, number one source? Sphere, right? So I'm going to tell you this. I interviewed and been in this business a long time, 2 decades, and I can tell you this. The number one response for any top producer in this room, anywhere I'm going to travel in the country and in the world, they're all going to tell me the same thing. 60 to 65% of my business, Wade, maybe even some of them like Terry Courtney, 90, 95%, they're all going to tell me is what? Sphere. Sphere, 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 right? That's why in the next section today, we're going to focus on an action plan that you've never seen before with your sphere. How many people would like to see an action plan that they've never seen before that will get them more business and more repeat and referral business? Absolutely. Good. Good answer. Good answer. Okay. So source. We want to know the source and we want to track that source. Why do I want to track source quickly? I want to continue to do and focus on the things that are what? Working, and stop the things that aren't working and aren't getting business. How many people have actually doing things that they should stop that have done no ROI in their business and they should just stop doing? Yes, this is why you do this. You look at your source and say, you track him there. Did I get an ROI in that? Kim, we did this, right? And what was the couple things? Yeah, so newspaper, you what? Yeah. Killed it. Didn't track one thing from it whatsoever, right? Right. So she went in and realized that she's marketing in that in areas that gave her no ROI. And aren't we glad we stopped the insanity and stopped the bleeding, right? We just put money back into increased our net by tracking in that. So take these, look and see where you're spending and whether it can attribute to an actual listing or sale. Smart? Okay. Next. What are the number of your listings? How many people are a little worried right now about going into 215 with the listing inventory? Yeah. So what's the number one message we should be putting out there right now, please, for listings, and why is now the best time to list? Nothing to buy. No competition. Right? What are other reasons? Our home shows what? Well, in the holiday season. What are other reasons why now is such a good time? Anybody in their right mind out there in minus 12 Celsius degree weather, it's got to be what? Serious, right? They got to be absolutely crazy or serious, because nobody would be out looking at houses at minus 12, okay? Right, so those are events. So my next question is who are you telling? Be honest, how many people are pumping that message out and getting in front of their audience and getting in front of it and sending the message that now is the time to do it? Is it April, yes or no? Yes. Yeah, why is it too late in April? Because everybody else has done it. It's too late, okay? So knowing your number of listings, knowing your inventory. Is having an inventory going into the spring market, yes or no? Yeah. So when do I have to start getting busy on building my inventory? Now. Now. Not in March, now. Okay? So our source of listings, write this down. These are stats that I think you must know. What is your ratio? The percentage of the sale price versus your asking price of all your buyers that you worked with in the past. Okay? What's the percentage, bless you, of what your sale price versus your asking price for all your buyers in the past? So, Connie, there's probably some statistics in your business that you should know as well that you can share to people. The three stats I'm sharing with you now are how you make sellers more money. Is that an important stat, yes or no? The another one is how you can save them time and sell their home for faster than everybody else. Is that an important stat, yes or no? That's the next stat, the days on market. And then the final stat is what percentage of the listings you took versus the percentage of them that sold. So now that stat shares whether you get the job done. Does the seller care about anything else other than making them more money, saving them more time, and getting the job done and getting results? Is there anything else they would care about, yes or no? Well, being inconvenienced and that and the whole process of stress and that is another problem, I agree. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more important. So my question for you is this. Go away and work out what your asking price versus your sale price average is and what it compares to the board average. So I wrote it down here, pardon me. There's 3 numbers here. So the average realtor in our local board is getting 95.05% of the asking price. How does your number compare to that? Should you let people know how you make them more money, yes or no? Yeah. Okay, how many people don't know what their number is? Go figure it out. And then figure out our board number. Is the average agent in our board, there's about 700-800 agents, they're getting about 95.05% of their asking price for their seller. Okay? Their seller is getting their house sold in 102 days. How fast on average are you selling your houses for your clients? Okay, and how does that? So how much more faster? Is that something that you should be marketing and advertising and promoting, Jack? Yours is 63 and the average agent is 102. That man is selling houses how much faster than the average agent? A lot faster, right? Almost 30%. Is that an important thing for people to know, yes or no? And then the last thing is that listings taken versus listings sold. Your guys' stat was an impressive stat. How many of your listings do you take and sell yourselves?
I think it was like 56%.
Yeah. Is that an important, powerful stat? Not only listed them, but they almost sold 60% of the listings that they took. Is that a powerful statistic in their presentation, yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. What did I say was the average of listings taken versus sold found that last year?
Yeah, it was 65% came from
Sphere, yeah. And then what was some other ones that we found interesting?
And the next one was online.
Online?
And these were the next
Yeah. And then the other one that was number 3 category, wasn't it floor?
Yes.
Yeah, so Dan lives in a small town, and there's a lot of walk-in, and there's only one company in his community, so it's cool for him. And he actually, his number 3 source of his business was floor and walk-in. So he's in an area where he's fortunate. And a lot of times, be honest, before we looked at that number, what'd you think of floor?
Yeah, not too motivated.
Let's be honest, a complete waste of time. Like, are you kidding me? I'm sitting here for hours on end because your floor shifts are quite long because there's only 5 of you in your office, right?
The thing is if there's only 5 of us, so then if I'm in the office when the other realtor's not there,
Right.
then it's like if it's a busy realtor who's ahead of me, it kind of makes sense to in the busy time of the year to be there because they're out on the street all the time and I pick up some that way too.
Yeah. Yeah, but interesting. We would have mocked and completely belittled the kiosk and the floor of the shifts and that if we didn't take a look at time and see and track his source of business. And we're like, wow, that's crazy. Your 3rd best source of business. We maybe want to continue and to implement our strategy. For some of us in the room, it's probably never anybody having the room never attributed one to floor shift in their lives. No, that's good. So it's still there. And then the last one is the source is open house. That's good. I'm glad. Makes me happy, the lease rents and payments I'm making on those buildings, so that's good. It makes me happy. And then the last thing is the open house. What are you doing and how many people do well at open houses? Right? How many people do that? And then how many people consistently do open houses? Or how many people unconsistently do open houses, right? That's right. And it's funny, the one thing I find, and I'll just close with this, is that when I work with people and when I coach, I find this one thing. The first thing they walk in when they're in a rut, the first question I ask them is, tell me all the things you did that you did in your first years that made you all your business and all your money. Give me a list, okay? And then I tell them, can you tell me on that list, how many of those do you do regularly, consistently, and all the time? And then they say, thanks for the session. Walk out of my office, end the conversation. Because what do? We're creatures of habit and we stop what? We stop doing the things that what? Made us all the money. Because we get to the point where we're too cool for floor. Right? I don't need to do floor. I am a top producer. I don't do floor. right? I don't do open houses. It's so 80s. Right? Right? And what gets it is our mindset and our heads take over. And every time I talk to a top producer that's in a slump, I ask them what they did and what they're still doing. And it's the quickest, fastest coaching session in the whole entire planet. Quickest and fast. So I'm going to look at what you do and what you do well and what works and do more of it and do it consistently. And what do you think that might do for you and your business? Right? Helpful. Okay. Thanks for your session. Let's go on.